Hello, this is Yannick Warnier, and today we are going to see how to generate certificates in the Chamilo learning management system and how also to generate them directly from the learning path. So you will need to complete this tutorial, you will need a Chamilo installation that is superior to 1.11.0. I'm doing that on 1.11.12, and you will need a course in which we will subscribe a few users so that the different examples that we'll see actually work and have something to show. So first, if you're ready, then we create our course. We make sure that in our users tool we have a few users. These are example users here, not real users. We need learners, right? The students. And then we're gonna go and see how to generate a normal certificate in Chamilo. So for that we go to the assessments tool, and in the assessments tool we will generate one of two things. So the first icon generates activities that, well, if you go above the icon, it actually says add classroom activity. This is for activities that have been managed outside the platform, and so you don't have a score that is really inside any activity of your course. You want to include them because you have them, for example, on a spreadsheet. You want to include them inside Chamilo. So this is the first way to do it, and the second way to do it is to include items that are inside your course. So for example, an exercise, a learning path, a forum activity, etc., etc. So what we want to do in this case to show it quickly is just generate a classroom activity. So we'll create one. We will just call it classroom activity to avoid being too specific. Give it a weight of 100. So this is like the maximum weight of my assessment. So this is the only item that I will actually evaluate here. And I give it a score of 10, a maximum score of 10, sorry. And that's it. So basically I will check the grade learners item so that I'm directly sent to the list of learners to give them a score. So don't mind too much the presentation here. For the first student we want to give him a score of 9 on 10, the second one 8, 7, 6, 5, and that's it. So once we've configured this and we come back to the first page of the assessment, we will find that the minimum certification score is 75. This means that if someone has more than 75%, then they will be able to generate a certificate. If they have less than 75%, then they won't be able to generate a certificate. And we can see that because we've added a score to each of those students. So we have like one with 90%, 80%, 70%. So only two are actually above 75%, right? If we come back here, we're going to be able to see that in the results page also. This is kind of the same page, the same spreadsheets, but basically it could include more activities if there were more activities here, so as additional columns. So what we have here is a list of results, but we don't have certificates. Why don't we have certificates? Because we didn't mark the assessment tool as being able to generate certificates. For that we click on the pencil icon, we get to the form that enables us to configure this assessment, and we check the box that says generate certificates, and that's it. And now, because we did that, we have a new icon here that allows us to see the list of certificates. Now, why aren't there any certificates? That's because in Chamilo, the logic is that the certificate is only generated when the student actually enters the assessment tool. And that is because there can be a lot of complexity in the assessment itself. We can have like 8 different activities that are graded, and we want the student to be able to decide when they consider they have made enough activities to actually generate a certificate that might, for example, include their score, their overall score for the assessment and so for the course. So if there are 8 activities and after 6 activities the person already has more than 75%, they could generate a certificate, but the certificate could also indicate that they have obtained 75%, as where they would have completed the 8 activities, they would have gotten a higher score, and that higher score would be shown on their certificate. So it's just a matter of logic inside of Chamilo. So the learners, to generate their certificates, need to enter the assessments tool. So as a teacher, I can hack a little bit into that and say, okay, if I want to, and I know that, for example, the course has ended, so they won't be coming to generate their certificate anymore, or they won't be able to do any more activity, then I can get into that page of list of learner certificates and just click on that icon to generate new, well, generate all the certificates for the students that have had a score superior to 75. And we can see that here. So the result of that is that we can check the certificate for any of the users. This bears their name. The certificate template here is the default for Chamilo. We're not going to get into that today, but basically it works, and we can either see it in HTML or download it as PDF. Now, we've done that, but obviously we've hacked into the process. We decided to do that as teachers, but one of the things that most people would like to do is make sure that the student, once they finish a specific activity, can immediately generate their assessment. And sometimes they don't want students to be able to see the assessments tool. Okay, so if we want to do that, there's a way to do that through the learning path. So first, before doing that, we're going to clean up a little bit the assessments tool, and we're just going to go and remove the assessment that we've created, and we're going to go to the certificates and remove the certificates that we've generated. So we are sure we're starting on an empty basis. We can also, well, obviously here I have already checked the generate certificates option, but just remember that this option needs to be checked for this second option too. Okay, so you need to check this option. So now we have an assessment tool that is empty, and we're going to create a learning path. So that I've already gone ahead and created the learning path itself. So if you enter the learning path and you create a few items in your learning path, you will see that you can include documents, exercises, links, tasks, and assignments and forum items or chapters inside the learning path. But there's also a last item that appears in Chamilo 1.11 that tells you certificate. And if you click on this one, you can give it a name, and you can pretty much just change a little bit the formulation here. So the message by default is congratulations, you have finished this learning path. You don't even have to put a message here. We're not going to dive into the skills item today, but you can just leave the certificate tag there, and this is enough to generate the end of the learning path page, which will, in this case, allow the student to generate his certificate immediately inside the learning path itself. So now we've created a learning path. The last item is the certificate, and basically this item is very special, so it won't allow you to see the item until you've actually completed all the other items in the learning path. So it will only open if you have a learning path that is already complete at 100%. Okay, in any order. So you have to complete all the items before you can actually see the last one. So let's see now that we've done that. There's only one step missing. We have in the assessments tool, we have to make sure that there is an assessment item that links to that learning path. So we're gonna go again in the assessments tool. Now click this second item, this second icon that allows me to create an online activity linked to an activity in Chamilo. And I will select the learning path. There's only one learning path, so that's pretty easy. A weight of 100, so the most important item and the only item in my assessment. And now I just check that I have marked my generate certificates checkbox. Okay, everything's good. I have a minimum score of 75%, but this is relatively unimportant in this particular case because the last step of the learning path, which generates the certificate, will not be accessible until I have completed 100% of the items. So I've generated everything I want. Now I will connect as one of my users. There we go. So, oops, that user shouldn't be an administrator. Sorry. Let's do that again with another user. And now I'm with that user connecting to my platform. I check the course which I'm using at the moment, certificate test. I could click directly on the learning path item to get there directly, or I could click on the name of the course to get to the home page of the course. If I go to the home page of the course and I click the assessments icon, I can see that I have the assessment there, but I have a total of 0 on 100. I don't have any progress in this assessment. So I will go back now to the learning path and I will enter the learning path and I will well, see the first page of the learning path. Now I click on the last item and I can see that this learning object cannot display because the course prerequisites are not completed. This happens when a course imposes you that you follow it step by step or get a minimum score in tests before you reach the next steps. Okay, so I cannot, it's marked as completed, but basically it's not considered completed yet because I haven't completed all the other items. So I just go from one item to another. Could have made that learning path shorter. And then because I complete this item here, I will get 100% completion. And now when I click on the last item, I get a special page that shows me that I can download the certificate by clicking there. So I just click on display certificate, and as a student, my certificate gets generated straight away. And that's it. I've pretty much obtained what I was looking for in the course. Okay, so this is how you do it. So there are two ways. One is to generate a simple assessment item or series of assessment items and then ask the students to enter the assessment tool, and that will generate their certificate. In this case, they have a button on the right that says display certificate, and they can download it here too in PDF. Or I put this item as a last item of the learning path, and in this case the student doesn't have to go into any of the other tool and can directly generate his learning path, his certificate from there. That's it for today. I'll see you in the next one.